Welcome to Magic Beyond the Books. Today I am talking about the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Orlando's newest theme park, Epic Universe. I'm Renee, and warning, there are Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them spoilers in this episode, as well as a few spoilers from the rides and shows at Epic Universe. So a quick summary. Epic Universe has 5 worlds. I encourage you to explore all of them, and with a park ticket, you can see all of them. It's not like you need to buy tickets for each world within Epic Universe. But for the purposes of this podcast, I'm going to focus mostly on the Wizarding World because this is a Harry Potter-based podcast, but I'll kind of talk a little bit about the other worlds as well. So the 5 worlds in Epic Universe are Super Nintendo World, How to Train Your Dragons, Isle of Berk, Dark Universe, Celestial Park, and finally, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic. So how the Wizarding World is described, it's from the magical streets of Paris to the British Ministry of Magic. And the inspiration is from 1920s Paris, mostly. And then they do have one ride that takes inspiration from 1990s, which is the Harry Potter time, British Ministry. So I'm going to go through and try to give you as a comprehensive guide from my trip in late June 2025. A few disclaimers. I am not sponsored by Universal. I went to the park on my own dime, and these are just my opinions. So take it as you will. Obviously, everyone likes different things. I did stay at the Universal Helios Hotel for 2 nights, and I had a 1-day, 1-park ticket with express passes to Epic Universe. And the date that I went to the park was Saturday, June 28th, just in case you're curious. I went with a group of friends that included 8 adults, 2 kids, 2 toddlers, and 1 baby. And when I went there was no virtual queue. They had experimented with that in the beginning when the park first opened and some of the pre-stuff. But when I went, there was no virtual queue and there was just express passes and there was a VIP tour that some people could do. For the Battle at the Ministry ride specifically, there was nothing, no express and no virtual queue. It's just one single line to go try to ride it, or they also technically they have another line for single riders and then one to just view the Battle of the Ministry ride, like the queue, and not ride. So a quick outline of this podcast episode. I'm going to start with overall thoughts, then I'm going to go through rides and entertainment, food, and then answer some listener questions. And finally, at the very end, I'm going to talk a little bit about traveling with babies and kids. I'm going to save that for the end, so if it doesn't apply to you, feel free to hop off after listener questions. First, overall thoughts. Epic Universe was so fun. I really loved my experience there, and I would recommend that you go if you can. And I'm going to get into more details about it, but just initial thought, I enjoyed it a lot. It was definitely one of my favorites, maybe my favorite theme park that I've been to. For background, in case you're just not familiar with Epic Universe is the newest theme park in Orlando. It's the first brand new theme park that's a Universal in the United States in the past 25 years. In the Orlando area, they have not opened a theme park in so long. They've opened rides and done expansions of current theme parks, but a totally brand new one. This is like maybe a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I'm not sure, but definitely a momentous occasion. There's lots of theme parks in Orlando, lots of like smaller ones, but the big ones are really Disney's parks and Universal's parks. Universal has technically 4 parks now. They had 2 theme parks, and then they opened a 3rd theme park that's Epic Universe, and then they also have a water park. So Universal has Universal Studios. That opened on June 7th, 1990, and when it opened, it had 13 attractions. Islands of Adventure is their 2nd theme park that opened on May 28th in 1999 and had 15 attractions when they opened. And then Volcano Bay is their water park, like I mentioned before. That opened on May 25th, 2017 with 18 attractions at opening. And then now Epic Universe is their third theme park, fourth park that's opened, and that opened in 2025, May 22nd. Epic Universe has the layout of the park is what's called a hub and spoke model. So essentially you have the hub is Celestial Park, and that takes inspiration from the cosmos, constellations, a lot of like Greek gods and the stars and all of that, like kind of celestial, really is the best word for it. So a Celestial Park is the central hub. It's kind of like a line, like imagine you draw a straight line. It's kind of like there's circles, but essentially that is the main hub of the park. Then there's the four other worlds, and you could call Celestial Park one of the worlds. The four other worlds kind of spout off from that main line that is the main hub. So that's the Super Nintendo world, which is all the Mario, Donkey Kong, Bowser, Princess Peach, all that. And then you have the Wizarding World, which is all Wizarding Paris with a little bit of the Ministry. And then you have the world that's goes off that's Dark Universe, which has a bunch of like the classic monsters from those movies from the 30s, like Frankenstein's monster, and you got like Curse of the Werewolf is a ride there. So all very like creepy vampires, like dark, pubs, all of that. And then the fourth one that's those little spokes coming off of the main hub, that will be your what's called Isle of Berk, which is inspiration from the How to Train Your Dragon series. So lots of dragons, very family friendly, just like Super Nintendo World. How to Train Your Dragon World has many rides that kind of go off of that, and they have some character experiences. And there's character experiences. There's one character experience in Dark Universe and a few in Super Nintendo World. And yeah, so that's a kind of a quick summary of Epic Universe and some facts about it. Right off the top, I'm going to say my initial just couple tips for Epic Universe if you're going to go. My first tip, don't trust the posted park opening and closing times. The day that I went, the posted time, earliest time that you could enter the park was 9 a.m. for early entry, and that's specifically for people who stay at Universal hotels, either the Helios that's on site or the ones off site. If you stay at one of the hotels, you get early access, early entry an hour before the park opens. So, and the day that I went, the park opened at 10, so we got early entry at 9. And then at closing time, the day that I went, it was posted to be 9. Now, that said, we entered the park at 8 a.m. They let us in from the hotel in the morning. And then at night, after 9 a.m., many, many people were still in the park. They stopped letting you get in the queues for rides. For most of the rides, they keep a couple of rides open where you can get into the queue, but you can still do a lot of stuff. I mean, even the night before we went, we saw people in the park as just walking around, going in shops, everything as late as 10, even though the posted time was 9. So the park probably fully closed down maybe at like 11, even though the posted time was 9. So don't trust the opening and closing times. I mean, maybe they'll change this, but they seemed like they were going at bigger windows. My second tip is the park is meant to be seen at night. If you have to choose between going early or staying late, like if you have to pick one or the other, I'd say stay late, stay till after dark. I mean, obviously, if you can do both like we did, great. But if you have to choose, I would say seeing the park at night is so great. Try not to leave early. Try to wait till after dark because the park is just meant to be seen at night. They have lights everywhere that change colors. They have this really cool light show at 9 p.m. with the fountains and all the lights around the park. And they have these like big lights that come up from each world, and each world gets lit up while they do like a light show part about that world. So it's really, really cool. And you can ride some roller coasters at night and it's all lit up. It's cool to see. So definitely try to stay till after dark. My third tip is don't get butterbeer from the butterbeer cart. In Harry Potter world, there's this big butterbeer cart where, you just walk up and you can buy cold, hot, or frozen butterbeer, and that's all they sell at the cart. Everyone goes to the cart, everyone wants butterbeer. There's two long lines and it's so slow, and each person is ordering like multiple butterbeers. There are other places where you can get butterbeer with almost no line. We went to Bar Moonshine. It's kind of tucked away and almost, I guess people miss it. Bar Moonshine is also a drinks only place, and we had like barely any wait, and we were able to get butterbeers, and they do the souvenir cup and everything. So definitely don't get butterbeer from the cart. Go to Bar Moonshine and get it there instead. And then my last tip, just off the bat, is in my opinion, some people are going to disagree with me, but I think you can probably skip the show in the Wizarding World. That's the Cirque Arcanus. To me, it was hot and I didn't really love the show personally. So if I would go again, I probably wouldn't go again and see that show. And I think the Untrainable Dragon show in Isle of Berk, the How to Train Your Dragon World, is better. So if you have to pick like one or the other, I'd say pick that one. That's just my opinion though. I mean, like I said, I went with a group of people, and the other people in my group said that they liked the show. On the top two, I want to respond to some common comments I saw before I went to Epic Universe and kind of my thoughts. So I watched so many videos, anything that anyone posted about Epic Universe, and then like the website itself and everything. I just was watching so much stuff before I went to try to be educated. So that said, in the videos, one thing I saw was a lot of people saying this park is epic, it's amazing, best park I've ever been to. And then there were other people who were saying, I hated it, it was terrible, lines were long, virtual queue was long, 5 hours for the Ministry of Magic ride. So like very extreme opinions on the park. After going, I'm probably closer to the first group that's more like this park was epic and amazing. I had a really good time. I thought it was really fun. I thought I could probably fill a whole entire other day with stuff and like barely repeat anything that I did on the first day, even though I had a very full first day. And I'll go through my exact day with you, just so you know everything that I did. I feel like I did a lot and I could still do so much more. So there's a lot to be done. I had a lot of fun. I liked all the things that I did. I don't really have a lot of complaints. I feel like my complaints are more like nitpicky kind of. It generally like there was nothing I was like, oh man, that was a waste of time, or I'm upset that I did that kind of thing. That said, like they got rid of the virtual queue before I went, and I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about the virtual queue. And if you're not familiar with parks, a virtual queue is basically where you go on the app and they'll open it at a certain time, or usually there's multiple windows throughout the day, and you'll try to click in and you reserve a spot for a later time to go on a ride. And then when you're like in that virtual queue before your time, so let's say your time is 3 p.m. or something, then you're kind of stuck in that virtual queue. You can't be in the multiple virtual queues at once. And then once you ride it and you're out of the queue, you might be able to get it again. But it seems like those things, I mean, Disney uses that. In my experience, I feel like it makes it where you're on your phone a ton when you're in the park, because you're trying to like get on these virtual queues and you have to like set timers to be on at certain times, and you might not even be able to get it. You might be sitting there refreshing your phone and like in the seconds, like it'll sell out in less than a minute. So I don't really love virtual queues. I do like the sense of it doesn't make you wait, so you only come back at a certain time. So that I can see some benefits too. But I kind of wonder, like if you're seeing a lot of videos where people are saying they hated the park, it might be kind of influenced by that. Or another reason might be because of delays, which I'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, other things that I saw, some people said they loved the food, some people said they hated the food, and it basically gave them diarrhea. My experience, I loved the food. Everything that I had, I enjoyed, and I sampled a lot of different stuff that like my group members got, and I also liked their stuff. And from what I got from my group, everyone enjoyed the food and the drinks that we had. So I think the food was good. I mean, obviously, you're at a theme park, so everything's like pricey and, maybe not the healthiest options. But for theme park food, usually it's like super pricey and it's like a couple chicken nuggets that are not very good and some fries that are cold. And I feel like I've had experiences where theme park food isn't really the best quality and also just like not the tastiest thing for how expensive it is. I will say, I think this park, the food was really tasty and I really enjoyed it. And the drinks too. Okay, so Untrainable Dragon Show was a must watch and makes you cry. I heard that a lot in a lot of videos. Untrainable Dragon Show, I made sure to see it. I saw the very last show at 7 p.m. because I didn't want to miss it. And I would say you should probably try to see it, even if you're a ride person or you're not really going for the shows. I think you should try to watch it. It was really cool. Just a quick spoiler, like they have a life-size dragon of Toothless and a real person gets on that Toothless animatronic and rides over the audience. Like the dragon goes over you multiple times over the entire audience, like multiple loops, not just like a one and back or anything. It's a really cool show to see that. And they're singing. So this is like more of a musical type show. And the storyline is there's this adult dragon that is not trainable. It's burning down Burke and they don't know what to do. The people are thinking about killing it, and Hiccup kind of goes down memory lane of all the hard dragons that he's had to train and decides that there's going to be a way that he can find to train this dragon. He ends up finding this egg that they have in their little egg nursery, and that's the egg of this dragon. They find out it's a mom, and the mom's reunited with the egg. The egg hatches, and she is basically tamed because she was just upset that she was separated from her baby. This show, I mean, even as a mom, it didn't make me cry. It's, it's a little theme park show. It's cute and everything, and it's a nice storyline. It wasn't that emotional for me. For me, the best part was like seeing Hiccup and Toothless fly over us. And, there was some good music in it and everything. So I thought it was a fun show. And to me, it was much cooler as far as temperature. I thought it was a nice, like, cool sit down break for the day versus the Harry Potter show. In my opinion, I thought it was hot. I talked to my other group members and they didn't mention being hot. So maybe it was just me. I don't know. But the other show, I just felt like I was hot and there was standing for like half the show and then sitting for the other half. So I would say definitely try to go see the Untrainable Dragon show. It was fun. And especially if you have kids, I think they'll like all the dragons. The next thing I saw was lots of ride delays. People were saying that there was a lot of like delays, meaning the ride gets closed for a period of time. And in my experience, the day that I went, there were a couple ride delays. The biggest was there was some rain the day that I went. So all the outdoor rides got delayed, but not the indoor ones. So like the Ministry of the Magic or the Monsters Unchained in the Dark Universe, those ones like that are indoor, those were still open even with rain delays. And like the shows were still open with the rain delays. So the rain didn't really impact our trip because we just did other things that you could do during the rain delays. And then rides opened back up after the rain had passed. And some rides are open later, like in the evening. Usually it's not raining or first thing in the morning. So basically the ride delays didn't really affect us. The biggest one, the day that I went, Curse of the Werewolf in Dark Universe, that one was on delay pretty much all day. I think it was open for only like an hour in the day, and we didn't get a chance to ride it. We tried to go after 9, but they wouldn't let us in the line because it was after 9 and we didn't make it before. So if you're going for Curse of the Werewolf, at least in my experience, that one was delayed. So I'd try to do that like first thing in the morning to make sure you can do it. But I think it varies by day, and it's a new park. So I think there's just naturally a little bit more delays as they kind of figure out and tweak things. Something else I saw was the park is not built for weather and there's no shade. Like when it rains, you're just stuck in the rain. I also found this to be not true. It did rain and it rained pretty hard at times when I was in the park, but there was little cover in the side. Like I was in the Wizarding World at times when it rained, and there's little nooks and everything where you can be out of the rain. So I never like had to walk through pouring rain or anything like that. And yeah, it was really, really sunny and hot in the morning. And there's not like a ton of shade, but I wouldn't say there's no shade. I mean, there's definitely areas you can go under and shops you can go in, shows you can go in, parks that are in AC. And if you kind of are able to do like express passes or work rides with rope drop, then you might not have to wait in the sun. Like for Ministry of Magic, that was the longest wait for us. And we went there first thing. So we did not have to wait in the sun. And then things like Stardust Racers, I had to wait a little bit, but it was also covered during the wait. The most sunny part was when we were in Super Mario World in the morning and it was just like blazing sun. That was pretty hot for me. So Super Mario World's probably one of the more like not shaded areas, especially if you're going around doing all the games outside. So I can kind of see where they're coming from, but in my opinion, don't not go to the park because you're worried it's going to be hot. But I'm also a Floridian, so I'll caveat that. I mean, I'm used to the heat a little bit more, and Florida is hot. Like, in my opinion, don't wear like long sleeves and a costume and a sweater and your Hogwarts robes and all of those things. Like, dress for the heat, wear sturdy tennis shoes, wear a tank top, wear shorts, wear like athletic, breathable, dry fit fabric. Be prepared for being out in the sun, wear sunscreen, like you are outside in the heat, especially if you go in summer. So, and drink a lot of water, stay hydrated, like all the normal things you would do for any other outdoor activity. Okay. So those were the top comments I heard before going. Now let's get into rides and entertainment, specifically in the Harry Potter world of Epic Universe. So there's only one ride in the Wizarding World at Epic Universe, which is kind of disappointing, but I'm sure they'll expand and add more rides. But for now, the one ride is Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. So I'm going to spoil this ride and talk about the storyline. So if you don't want any spoilers, just go ahead and skip through this part. The storyline on this ride is basically you are going to view Professor Umbridge, Dolores Jane Umbridge, her trial after the Harry Potter series. So now this would be like post book 7 when Kingsley Shacklebolt is the Minister of Magic. The scenario of this ride is that she's on trial for, I guess, all of her many crimes during Harry Potter. But they kind of make it out like she's like a Death Eater, sort of. So I don't know. Anyway, so you're in your little seat and you're going to go view her trial. And you're in this elevator and you're going down the elevator and then you run into the trio, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and they're like kind of explaining this, right? And then along the way, there's like these little elevators and Umbridge is in one with a guard and a Death Eater, or it's like Yaxley, the Death Eater. And she seemingly kills the guard. There's a green spell, and then like the body kind of falls down on the floor. So I think it's that she kills him based on my knowledge of Harry Potter. So, maybe up to interpretation. Okay, so she kills the guard and then she escapes, basically. So she says to Yaxley that they're going to go back to the time of Lord Voldemort. And then the trio, they show, like fighting the Death Eaters throughout the ministry. You're just kind of going through, moving around. This is all on screens, but with some animatronics mixed in. And then you're in the little cart moving around. So it's not a roller coaster. It's more of like some movements in this little cart that you're sitting in to move you around to see these different screens and these different animatronics. So as you're moving around, then you kind of like see all this destruction going on and a few fantastic beasts show up. There's that little like moose animal looking thing. But the big one is an Erumpent, which is that rhino looking animal from, or I guess I should say beast from Fantastic Beasts. That comes in and they use the screen, but then they also use an animatronic there. And then you kind of like, there's all this stuff with a time turner, like Umbridge has stolen a time turner. You fall through space and time, and then the trio manages to get the time turner back. And then you go back and you go to her trial. Kingsley is the presiding person there. He sentences Umbridge to life in Azkaban. Her little pink dress turns into a jail outfit, while Harry and Ron are like holding their wands to her, keeping her there. And yeah, and then you kind of turn and the press takes your picture, and then that's the picture that you get on the ride. So that's the storyline. Obviously, the story follows some truth to Harry Potter, but overall, I mean, you're going to have to, if you're a true Harry Potter book fan, you're going to have to suspend belief a little bit, because there's a lot of things that don't really jive with the storyline and don't really make a lot of sense. Like, for example, Umbridge is not pro Voldemort and she's not a Death Eater. And also, if she was a Death Eater, she wouldn't call him Lord Voldemort. She would call him, well, she calls him you know who in the books. But if she was a Death Eater, she would call him the Dark Lord. So, and then like the Fantastic Beasts just somehow getting into the Ministry is a little bit like, okay, I'm not sure how that works out. And there's some other things like in the queue leading up to the ride, there's a little locker room for the Aurors, and they have little initial plaques. So you see like the one for Harry Potter is HP, and then there's Ron Weasley, like RW. And then there's also Neville Longbottom. And if you know from the canon of the story, like Neville Longbottom doesn't become an Auror, he becomes the herbology teacher at Hogwarts. So there's just some things. I mean, there is a little Easter egg. There's a AG initials in that locker room, which people think are Anthony Goldstein, which he is a Ravenclaw in the canon of the books. So he could, presumably have also become an Auror with the others. So there's a few things. It's like, okay, you're kind of taking some aspects of the canon, but then obviously taking some real liberties just to make the storyline of a ride. But it can be really fun. And, a lot of people enjoyed it. The people from my group seem to enjoy it. And here's their interviews. All right, I'm here with a guest today. Do you want to introduce yourself and say your Hogwarts house?
Hi, I'm Brittany, and I am a Hufflepuff.
Brittany, what was your favorite part about Harry Potter World?
I think all of the attention to detail made the experience very magical. It was nice to have a different perspective of the Fantastic Beasts franchise immersed with the Harry Potter world, so that was really cool.
Did you ride the Battle at the Ministry ride?
We did. We were able to rope drop the Battle of Ministry.
And what was your interpretation of the storyline of the ride?
So the storyline of the ride, which I was not expecting, was that we were there to witness the trial of Professor Umbridge. My big takeaway, a lot of the storyline I was like kind of paying attention to, but I was just kind of enjoying the ride itself with how unique it was.
Okay. And there's been rumors that time turners were involved in the storyline. Can you confirm those rumors?
I can confirm.
I have Daniela with me here on the podcast. Daniela, do you want to introduce yourself and say your Hogwarts house?
Hi, I'm Daniela, and my house is Ravenclaw.
Daniela, how would you describe the storyline of the Battle at the Ministry ride?
For us, it was great. We got there early. We got there around 9. Got in line, and then we just sat down for a bit and waited until like 9:45. We were one of the first people to ride. It was great.
Could you tell us, for our motion sick listeners, do you think that it would make someone who gets motion sick motion sick?
Yes, I do think it would get someone sick if you have motion sickness. It was kind of rough, but it was fun.
Okay. And what was the amount of screens versus animatronics?
I would say a lot of screens.
I'm Justin. I'm a Gryffindor. Took my test yesterday.
Yes, he's an official Gryffindor. And you rode the Battle of the Ministry ride. What was your interpretation of the storyline?
About how I thought it would go. Bad guy escapes, gets caught, but it was good.
But for our people that might get motion sickness, was it very shaky?
Yeah, you were flying in the elevators, and they were not very stable.
And there were some rumors that there were dead bodies as part of the show and the storyline in the ride. Is that true?
I don't remember seeing dead bodies.
In the elevator?
What? Oh yeah, the one. Yep. It wasn't that bad. I didn't think too much of it. If you've seen the movies, you see a lot of that.
And there's also rumors of a time travel component. Was that part of the ride?
Yes, that was very interesting. It made it. I don't remember anything like that in the movies.
And Brittany, you had kids that joined you on the ride. Do you want to share their ages and kind of what they thought of the ride?
Yes, I have one child that's age 11, and she really enjoyed the ride. She's a big Harry Potter fan, read some of the books, and she was really intrigued. The intensity was just up her speed, and she liked the interactive piece. And then my other child, age 9, is not a big roller coaster ride fan, but this was intense enough where he enjoyed it, was a little nervous at first. And then even for the little ones, I have a 2-year-old, and they were able to stay in the queue with us, which I thought was a very unique experience, that he was still able to be a part of the whole queue. And then we did the rider swap, which was very easy, and was still able to do the interactive experiences on the way out. So it was very immersive for the whole family.
As far as this ride, a lot of people are talking about motion sickness. And I know I personally chose not to ride the ride. I watched a full YouTube video on the ride, and even the YouTube video made me feel a little nauseous. I get extreme motion sickness, my whole group was doing this first thing in the morning, and I wasn't going to risk it and then be sick for the rest of the day. So I basically watched the kids while the rest of the group went on the ride, which was fine with me and helped the group get through that quicker. Everyone gets different kinds of motion sickness. It's going to be your own judgment call. People were comparing it to different rides. If you're familiar with other Universal rides, there's the Hogwarts Castle ride that's in Islands of Adventure. That one is a similar one with the screens and the kind of moving around. And I know for me, that one makes me very, very sick. If those kind of rides don't bother you, you're probably fine. And like I said, in my group, there were 7 other adults and 2 kids that rode that ride and from my group, and none of them got sick from it. But I will say, even if you're not going to ride the ride like me, still go and see the ministry because it's so cool. I mean, it's this massive thing. So you walk in, the Metro Flu entrance is sort of towards the back of the Harry Potter world. So if you go into the Harry Potter world or Wizarding World at the park, and you're going to turn left, you're going to pass the butterbeer cart, and there's this Metro Flu which you enter, and then it's like you're going into these fireplaces, and then you walk through a little hallway, and it's simulating that you're walking through the fireplace to enter the big hall in the Ministry of Magic. So when you walk in, you are immediately in this big hall that has those kind of like greenish and black tiled walls all over, and then you see these offices. It's very much like the movie. And then they have these big golden statues, the one that has the multiple beasts and humans like the centaur and whatnot, and then there's a separate one with a wizard kind of in the back. So the whole queue is taking you where you're in this big hall, and you're obviously going through like the ropes of any ride you've seen. And if you get there first thing in the morning like I did, everyone's just going through. It's not backed up, so you're just kind of like walking through quickly and looking all around you as you walk. One of my friends that I was with pointed out this was a great little Easter egg kind of thing. So if you look up at the ceiling, look at the edges of those little offices, you can see that the like edge of the ceiling is made to look like the offices continue going up into the sky. So it's really neat. The whole thing's beautifully designed. And then of course, for the storyline of the ride, they have these big posters that are kind of like wanted posters with Umbridge with her hair all messed up, and they're moving, and she's got this like jail cell uniform on. So this is all kind of preparing you for like, okay, you're entering the ministry. It's all part of the storyline of the ride, if you will. This queue, you can also, if you don't want to ride the ride, you can wait in the queue, or you can just go in and do like a ministry viewing. But the queue takes you through that big room, and then you're going to go off into some side rooms, which is, like I mentioned before, there's this locker room when I went, we ended up waiting in that room. And then, it takes you through a few rooms, and then you get to like boarding the ride. So it's a great queue. They did such a fantastic job. It's worth seeing. Like I said, like even if you're not going to ride the ride, go to the queue. See the queue. It's so crazy. It's like stepping into the movie set. And then when you leave the ride and you're walking out, you're able to walk through that fireplace with the smoke coming up, so you can grab some pictures. You can grab some pictures in the ministry before you leave. I would definitely recommend. If you had one day in the park again, what would you have done differently?
I would spend more time at the battle at the ministry, so where I was trying to get all of the pictures as we were going through the queue, which was really busy and chaotic. What I did not know is that after the ride is done, you can still take those same pictures in that main area and through like the flu powder area. I was under the impression at the beginning try to get it all done, but you have time at the end after the ride to do those pictures and videos.
Going back to the storyline, I'll give you a little bit of background that might help you know a little fun facts, and maybe you can share this with your friends if you want. So, the Erumpent is a part of this storyline of the ride where it comes and it's smashing through. It's the rhino-looking beast. An Erumpent is in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the book that you can buy, and I have that one. And that goes through all the ministry classifications of beasts. So an Erumpent, for an example, is a 4 out of 5. A 4 means that it's dangerous and requires specialist knowledge skilled wizard may handle. So ministry classifications go from 1 to 5, 1 being boring, 5 being a known wizard killer, impossible to train or domesticate. They're a large gray African beast of great power. They can weigh up to a ton and might be mistaken for a rhino at a distance. It looks like a rhino, but with a almost like a swollen face. And they have this very thick hide that repels most charms and curses, which adds to their power, obviously. And then they, like I said, have this large, sharp horn, and that horn can pierce through everything from skin to metal and contains a deadly fluid, which will cause whatever is injected with it to explode. And they also have, this body that's again very like rhino-like 4 feet, and they have a long rope-like tail. They give birth to only one calf at a time, and they don't attack unless provoked. There's low numbers because the males frequently explode each other during mating season. And their horns, tails, and exploding fluid, that's the official name, are all used in potions. It's called a Class B tradable material, which means it's dangerous and subject to strict control. So those are some fun facts about the Erumpent that you will see on the ride if you choose to ride it, that you can also share with your friends. And that is canon from the story. And it's in the Fantastic Beasts series if you watch those movies. So that pretty much sums up Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry ride. I personally would love to see them add more rides, especially it'd be cool to have a Harry Potter roller coaster. I've always thought that it would be really cool to have a roller coaster based on the Chamber of Secrets moment when the Ford Angula runs into the Whomping Willow, maybe some sort of like Whomping Willow, or you're like in a car, right, flying, or maybe flying to Hogwarts and then like Whomping Willow is part of it. I always thought that would make a good ride before like Harry Potter worlds existed at all. If you're from Universal, hear me out on that. All right. Other than the ride, there's one show in Harry Potter world at Epic Universe. It's called Cirque Arcanus. And the storyline of that show is that it's essentially a play about a ringmaster, and he steals Newt Scamander's suitcase of Fantastic Beasts to use for his show to make money. There's one part of the show where you're in a standing room and they kind of start the show and set up the scene, and then you enter the circus and you're like watching the circus show. So the first part of the show, you're in a standing room. They really pack you in. I felt like it was very hot in there and I did not love that very much. But basically, a man comes out and he kind of introduces you to the show. And then you see these two house elves. They're on a screen. So it's a mix, again, like mix of real people, screens, and then animatronics. So a real man, actor, person comes out and introduces you. Then you look at a screen that has two house elves that are cleaning the cages and they're talking. And then this is where they're kind of giving you this backstory. And then the suitcase kind of shifts across the screen and then, moves to like this animatronic, comes on the desk, and a real person, the ringmaster comes out and he opens it. And then this like animal or beast, I guess, that's called a demiguise crawls out of the suitcase. And I'll talk about demiguise for a second in case you're interested. Those are also seen in the Fantastic Beasts movie. They're categorized as a 4 out of 5 as well, which again means dangerous and requires specialist knowledge there's a skilled wizard may handle, which is obviously why Newt is handling some of these creatures. Demiguise creatures are found in the Far East, and they turn invisible when they're threatened. They're generally peaceful, and they're an herbivore, and they kind of look like a graceful ape. They look like, ape is the closest thing but except for in their pelt or, the fur is like very fine, silky, silvery hair, and their whole body's covered in that. And then they have these large, black, doleful eyes, and often the eyes might be hidden by hair. And their pelts, as I described, those are highly valued because that hair can be spun into invisibility cloaks, which makes sense because they can turn invisible. So there's some fun facts about demiguise beasts. So you see that beast come out and he's kind of sneaking around. Then you see this woman. I think the ringmaster calls her a muggle. And, she's like facilitating this show or helping him out. So she brings the suitcase and then you go into the show and you sit down. They show you this show. They have some people come out that are supposed to be like, it's like you're watching the circus. So some people come out and it's supposed to be like there's a person on like wires basically, and they're pretending like they're riding on a broom, and they do some like light acrobatics kind of and a little bit of dancing. And then it switches kind of more to the Fantastic Beasts. So you go in the suitcase. The woman that was called a muggle earlier, she's just like discovering all these animals that Newt has and falling in love with them, and decides that she needs to stop the ringmaster. She learns about like how to kind of manage these animals a little bit. And then that comes back later because the ringmaster captures the demiguise, realizes that she's going against him. And then she pulls out what appears to be a wand, and then he calls her a squib. So I guess she's been a squib this whole time, and says that she can't cast a spell. But then someone says Expelliarmus, and ta-da, Newt Scamander's there. They use a screen with, I guess, Eddie Redmayne came back and like reprised his role to act this out. And he takes the wand away from the ringmaster, and then the squib girl takes what looked like a wand and turns it around, and it's actually a little bell. So she conjures up that big like fiery cat thing that's called a Zou, and that basically like takes down the ringmaster. They take over, whatever. It's like happy ending. The creatures are back, and it's a lesson about how you should treat creatures well. If you really like animatronics and just would like the visuals of a show, it has really cool visuals. It does a good job of mixing screens with real actors and also actual like built animatronics. So there's definitely reasons to like the show. I felt like I didn't love the like being cramped and standing in a crowded room, and then that was like kind of like the first little bit of the show, and then sitting down. I felt like both areas were really hot, and I just didn't love the show. I just thought it was like okay, like I wouldn't really go back and watch it again. Let's hear from some of the members of my group about what they thought of the Cirque Arcanus show. And what did you think about the Fantastic Beasts show?
I thought it was good. Yeah, it was cool. It was interesting because it was like a mix of like screen and like real actors and stuff. Yeah, I thought it was really good.
It was pretty good. A lot of weird looking animals. The costumes were pretty good. animatronics. Yeah, no, that was a good part of the movie too.
I thought it was really good. I was not expecting a two-part of the show, so you like walk into the first staging area and there was like an intro show and then into the main show, which was really cool.
So in addition to the demigods, I'll talk about a little bit about some of the beasts that you see. I mentioned the Zawu. That one is not in the Fantastic and Beasts Where to Find Them book that I have, but it's basically an elephant-sized cat with a striped body, scraggly mane, fangs, and sharp claws. And they have a disproportionately long, ruffled, multicolored tail. They're incredibly powerful and fast and capable of traveling 1,000 miles in a day. They are based on a creature of the same name from Chinese mythology. J.K. Rowling has confirmed that. So that's a big part of the storyline. You'll also see a deery crawl, which is a large bird that is classified as a 2 out of 5 in the ministry classification. And a 2 means that they're harmless and may be domesticated. They're plump-bodied, fluffy-feathered, flightless birds. They're remarkable for its method of escaping danger, which is that they can vanish in a puff of feathers and reappear elsewhere. A phoenix can also do the same thing. And muggles once were fully aware of deery crawls, and they called them dodo birds. And muggles believe that they were hunted to extinction and, no longer exist. And basically the wizarding world just lets them believe that, even though deery crawls still exist. And another beast that appears is the moon calf. Moon calf beasts are classification 2 as well, just like the deery crawl. And they're immensely shy. They emerge from their burrow only at the full moon. And their smooth and pale gray body is like what they look like. And they're basically, when I saw these, there's 3 of them in the show that are sitting in a little box. And the most notable thing about them is they have these bulging round eyes at the top of their head. And you don't really see in the show because they're like in a box, but they have 4 spindly legs with enormous flat feet. And they perform complicated dances with their hind legs in isolated areas in the moonlight as a prelude to their mating. Like this is like part of their mating ritual. And this dancing leaves geometric patterns behind in wheat fields, which is something that muggles have seen and been confused by and thought that aliens were creating those geometric patterns in the wheat fields or that it was a hoax. But it's actually moon calves. And this dance, sometimes they leave like silvery dung behind, and wizards can collect it up and spread it over magical herbs and flower beds, but it has to be done before the sun rises, so collecting it and spreading it. And if you do that, the plants will grow very fast and become extremely strong. And moon calves are found worldwide. So those are my little wizard behind the scenes facts about these creatures and a little bit more about them than what you get in the show. But I hope that helps give a little bit more context and a little bit more fun if you want to kind of give some fun facts to your friends when you go. But that pretty much concludes my recap of the show. Like I said, there's one ride in the Wizarding World part of the park, and then there's one show. Outside of that, what you can do is wander around the, wizarding streets of Paris. They have shops and then they have a couple restaurants as well. And I'll talk about food later, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about like the entertainment and the shops and everything. So what you can do for entertainment, there's street entertainment. So there are students from other wizarding schools. There's Aurors, there's Cosme Akajor, and Newt Scamander that are kind of like walking around that you can go see throughout the streets. There are not character experiences where like you meet, they call them like meet and greets, I think, where you actually meet the characters. They do have that in some of the other worlds, but they do not have that in Harry Potter. So if you're seeing people, they're just kind of walking around the streets, like you don't have to wait in line to talk to them. When I saw videos of, Epic Universe before I went, it seemed like people were always running into street performers. Like even in the other worlds, there's Igor in the Dark Universe, or there's all these people in Isle of Berk from the movie, like Astrid and the twins and like so many other people. And so I guess I thought that we would run into a lot of street performers and just like people walking around the street that work for Universal. But I gotta tell you, we only saw one person in any of the worlds. We saw one or that talked to my friends for a little bit, and that was it. I didn't see anyone. I was really excited to buy a wand and see Cosme Akajor, but like she wasn't there. I don't know if it was because it was a rainy day or what, but so the street entertainment, I'm telling you this because I've seen other people see it, but I personally didn't see it at all. So it might be like a day by day thing, or inclement weather might, prevent them from doing this. So, and as I mentioned before, there's shops. So you can go to, they have 4 shops, Torin Flu, Les Galeries Mirifiques, K Ramel, and then Comme Akajor Baguette Magique. So those are the different shops that you can go to, that you can actually go inside. That said, the whole thing is set up where there's like storefronts that are just the storefront. So you can kind of like look around and take pictures around all of those. And then there's a bunch of spells that you can do at those different storefronts that aren't necessarily like actual stores you can walk into. So beyond walking into stores and actually purchasing your own merchandise, you can still like, quote unquote, visit the stores as in visiting the storefronts and doing all the spells that are kind of hidden throughout those. And if you want to do the spells, you can bring a wand from that you have from another, Universal trip. Like if you bought a wand at Universal Islands Adventure, if you pre-ordered a wand, or if you bought one at Universal Studios, whatever, you can use those wands in Epic Universe, even if they're like what they call first generation. There's first generation wands and there's second generation. The second generation wands, there's a very limited number. I think there's 5 of them. Those ones light up and vibrate when you do spells, and they have more like feedback, which I think is actually a really cool feature because it's really hard to tell like if it registered that you did a spell with another one that's not the second generation. Another fact about the second generation wands is that those ones can be linked up with the Universal app. So if you have the app, which I recommend you get if you're going to go to Epic Universe, because it shows you the map, it'll show you ride times, you can do mobile orders for food, like it's kind of your central hub. You use the power-up bands in Super Mario World with the app, and same thing, you use the wand. So you can, if you have a second generation wand, you can connect it with the app, and then you can like use the map, and then you can put like your wand and your name in there and all the things. So when I went, I did not get a second generation wand. Maybe if I go again, maybe I'll get one next time because they do seem really cool. I personally looked at all the wands, watched people's videos, everything, and picked out my wand based on the look of it. Because a lot of them, I'm sorry to say, I don't really love the look of. So I just picked one that I thought was really beautiful. My wand is called an ivy. It comes in there's square boxes and then there's triangle boxes. And some wands are specific people's wands, like it's Dumbledore's wand or it's Harry's wand. Some of them are just like names, like mine's just an ivy. My wand, the ivy wand, isn't necessarily assigned to anyone, so there's no name on it or anything. But it comes in a triangle box, and the fact that I knew what wand I wanted actually made it easier because that store, Comme Akajor Baguette Magique, that store is very, very busy. It was hard to get around. I had a stroller too, and it was really hard to get the stroller around. It was hard to get in and out. So if you can, I would say it's good to know what wand you want before. It's fun to buy it in the park, but it's good to know what you want before because there were so many people like looking around, trying to move around all the aisles. Like it was very tight and it's hard to pick. And then they have these displays of the wands, but they're way up high. I mean, I'm 5'2", so like everything's tall to me, but they were way up at the top above all these shelves of wands. So they're just kind of hard to see. I'll try to put a picture on our Instagram, but I would say go in knowing the wand that you want, and that will make it a lot easier because there's not a long line to buy the wand. It's hard to get around the shop because everyone's looking at the wands. But like I said, my wand is not second generation, but I was able to go out of the store afterwards, and then we walked around and we were doing all the spells. And my group had a lot of fun with the spells. And you have a wand, is that correct? What wand do you have?
Oh, I have the Elder Wand.
Perfect. And is yours a first generation or a second generation wand?
It was a first generation. It was a couple of years old. We brought it back. We got it at the Universal Studios Harry Potter World.
Okay, perfect. So you can use your first gen in the new world.
Oh yeah, it worked. I was magicking up all over the place in this new park.
Did you have a favorite spell?
Yes, it was. I can't even remember something. Maxima or something.
I think Lumos Maxima.
Lumos Maxima. There you go. That was it.
Okay, great. Do you have any last messages for people that haven't gone to the world? What would you recommend? What were your overall thoughts?
I would recommend, if you were going to the Harry Potter world, to just take your time in that part of the park, because there's like a lot to see that you could miss if you don't really investigate, and maybe get a wand and go try out some magic spells, because there's like interactive maps that like showed you where all like the different spell locations were. I thought that was really cool.
And what is your wand?
I got Professor Dumbledore's wand, the Elder Wand, Gen 2.
Oh, is it second generation wand?
Yep, second generation.
And the second generation, does it vibrate and light up, or what does it do?
Yeah, the tip lights up and it vibrates when you get the spell right, which isn't easy to do.
Tell us more about the spells.
Some of them are triangles, infinity signs, and you wave them at the walls, and they blow air at you, they move. It makes it look like you're doing real magic. For a long time, I've gone to Universal Studios, I've gone to Islands of Adventure multiple times, and I've always avoided buying a wand because I was like, oh, I'm not going to come back or whatever, or like don't want to spend the money. And I finally caved and got my wand, which I actually had a lot of fun doing the spells. And I honestly wish I would have spent more time. If I had more time in the park, or if I was going for a second day, I probably would spend more time trying to go through and do all the spells. We did most of the spells around that little corridor by like Bar Moonshine and next to the wand shop. So we did do a lot, but I definitely could have done more, and it's kind of fun to do. On the flip side of what I just said, I feel that it's a little bit hard to tell like how to do the spells. So there's basically a little, plaque on the ground that'll show you the wand movement. There'll be a dot to show you where you start the motion, and there'll be arrows pointing in whatever direction that you're supposed to, do the spell. So it might be like a triangle, it might be a V, it might be an infinity sign. Whatever it is, you'll just look at that. And then it'll also say, like around that little circle, it'll say the incantation for the spell. So the motion and the incantation. And then you basically stand on that little dot, that little plaque on the floor, and you look forward and you do those two things. So whatever the spell is for that thing, you'll do those two things and wave your wand around, and the sensor at the top of the wand is going to react with the storefront or whatever you're standing at, and then something will happen. So it's always some sort of like, simple spell. So they're fun. It definitely took me multiple times at a lot of them to get it to react. Like some of them I got on the first try. Some of them I did it like 4 times. One of the spells that I did see that people were doing was there's a fountain in the Wizarding World that has a headless wizard. There's another fountain that doesn't have a headless wizard, but go to the one with the headless wizard, and then you can do a spell to make a Grindylow pop up out from under like one of the tiers of the fountain. And Grindylow is something that you'd actually recognize from the Harry Potter movies and books, not the Fantastic Beasts. Grindylows were introduced they were introduced in the 3rd book, because there's one in Lupin's classroom when Harry first goes and meets him, and then Lupin is the one that teaches him about Grindylows. And then they come back up again in the 4th book when Harry is in the lake. I'll tell you a little bit about Grindylows. They're a classification 2, so again, like not super crazy. They are a horned pale green water demon with very long brittle fingers that have a very powerful grip, but it's easy to break. And
They're found in lakes, which makes sense. They're in the Hogwarts Great Lake, and they're all throughout Great Britain and Ireland. They feed on small fish, and they can be aggressive towards wizards and muggles alike. But mer people actually domesticate them. So I think, from my memory, I'm pretty sure Harry sees some of the mer people like having them as pets when he sees their little mer village in the fourth task of the Triwizard Tournament. So that's a little bit about Grindylows. If you want to see one, like I said, do that spell at that fountain and you can see one little pop its little head up. But that pretty much concludes the rides and entertainment that are in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Epic Universe. Next, I'm going to talk about the food in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I actually, to be completely honest with you, did not eat any food in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I did have drinks. We went to Bar Moonshine, and I wanted so badly to go to the cafe there to have butterbeer crepes. And also, I heard their quiche was really good, but just didn't get around to it with all the million things we were trying to do. But I will tell you about it. So the cafe I mentioned is Cafe L'air du Le Serin, and that means the air of the siren. It's very reminiscent if you've been to France. I mean, I've been to Paris. There's a lot of these little restaurants that have outdoor seating and these cute little tables and places to sit outside. So it reminds me a lot of Paris that I know. I've never been to 1920s Paris, obviously, but that's a cute little cafe that you can actually do like a sit down and eat food in the cafe. There's also a cart that's the butterbeer cart, or there's a French name for butterbeer, which is beer au beurre. So you'll see that it says that, and like on menus, you'll see beer au beurre. That's butterbeer. It's BIERAUBEURRE. So if you're French and you're visiting this world, it's going to be great for you because you're going to know how to pronounce everything. I'm just watching my way through it. The butterbeer cart, like I said before, do not go to the butterbeer cart. Get butterbeer somewhere else. It gets so backed up. I tried to go there and waited in line. The line didn't move for like 10 minutes or something. It just, everyone goes there. It's right in front of the Ministry of Magic ride. It's super popular. Just get your butterbeer from another part of the Wizarding World at Epic Universe. But it's there, so just letting you know. There's also Le Goblois Noir, which means the black cup. That is another place that you can eat and get drinks. It's in like a little hidden alleyway. And then there's Bar Moonshine, which I did go to. That's also a little bit tucked away, which I think is why it's not popular. Bar Moonshine only has drinks, and there's alcoholic drinks and non-alcoholic drinks, and there is butterbeer, or as I said before, beer au beurre. Oh, and they have souvenir cups that are very cute. So if you want to get a drink in the Wizarding World, I suggest going to Bar Moonshine. There was almost no line. It was super easy to go in and out. And there's a couple little tables you can sit at in front of it. So we kind of hung out there. You can like stand. But yeah, Bar Moonshine was great. They have souvenir cups. And my group tried a variety of the drinks. There were even more that I would love to just try them all. So I want to go through a couple drinks that we tried that were good. We tried the butterbeer. Every time I go to any Wizarding World, any Universal Wizarding World, I have to get butterbeer. They also now have butterbeer in Universal City Walk, so you don't have to buy a park ticket. City Walk's free to go to, and there's restaurants and shops. So if you are dying to get a butterbeer but don't want to pay ticket pricing, you can also do that. But anyway, back to Epic Universe. The butterbeer, they have cold, frozen, or hot. We got the frozen one, which was so good. And my friend got a butterbeer in that souvenir cup, which is really cute. And you can take that home. Certain beverages come in like this little Bar Moonshine cup that has like a little martini glass with a like crescent moon on it. It's very cute, and you can take that home. So it's a little like cute souvenir as well as a little drink for you. We also tried the pumpkin juice. You can sample drinks as well. I asked the lady about the pumpkin juice, and she said that it has a very strong pumpkin taste, so she recommends sampling it before buying it. So they let me sample it. I didn't actually end up getting it just because we got multiple other drinks. But it was good. I liked it. It tasted to me and to the other people in our group like very much like pumpkin pie. It was like drinking pumpkin pie. So if that sounds good to you, definitely get the pumpkin juice. Then I got the Akami tea, which is like Boo de Bleu de Akami. And it's described as a cooling blue refresher served with a magical tea bag that transforms to a glittering purple when mixed in. So basically, it looks kind of like a blue Sprite type of drink. And then you get this like cotton candy, a bag of like cotton candy with a cute little like Akami tea picture. You pour that in, you stir it around, and your drink turns totally purple. It goes from like a light blue to a dark purple. And then it has this glitter that like floats around the drink, and it makes it look really, really cool. It also has two different distinct flavors. So you're supposed to drink it as the blue refresher drink and then mix it in and then try the purple ones. But it was really beautiful. I loved it. And it was sweet and good and I enjoyed it. Because sometimes you get a drink and it's like really pretty, but it tastes terrible. This I felt like tasted good and it was pretty. What sort of food and beverage did you eat while you were in the Harry Potter world?
We had a chocolate frog, which was a delicious chocolate came with little like trading cards. And then I also had a sip of it was like a purple berry lemonade, which was a very cool experience because it doesn't look purple at first. It's blue and then you put some powder in and stir it and then it turns like purple, sparkly, iridescent. It was very cool and delicious.
And then I had some friends get the Lobe Blaster. That was an alcoholic beverage, and it's described on the website as a potent mix of moonshine, limoncello, absinthe, lemon juice, club soda, and simple syrup garnished with a rosemary spring and layered in an emulsion verte. I had two friends try this and they both loved it. It was really good. You had some drinks at Harry Potter World. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah. So we went over to the Moonshine Bar, and we had the Lobe Eraser or the Lobe Blaster, something with a lobe. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. I had one, and it did what it was supposed to do. It was good.
And describe for the listeners what that looked like.
So it started off as like a yellow drink. It's had like moonshine and absinthe and a bunch of stuff in it. And then you mixed in some like green fruity drink. And it like changed colors. It was pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, green and yellow look to it.
Yeah.
And what drinks did you have in the Harry Potter world?
I had the Lotus Blaster at Moonshine Bar, and it was the best. It was great. It was sweet, it was strong, it was spicy, and then you could take the cup. So it was great. I could see here.
And that's an alcoholic beverage, correct?
Yes, it has moonshine, it has limoncello, it has absinthe, and then some sweet things. So when I first read it, I was kind of scared, but it was delicious. I highly recommend it.
Okay, now how are you feeling post-drink?
I'm feeling great!
It has absinthe in it, which makes you think like, oh my gosh, this is going to be super strong. But it wasn't it wasn't that strong. I'm sure they're not pouring that much in. And it also tasted really good. They said that it tasted very refreshing and very good and didn't taste like it had absinthe in it. So that was a good one. And I know they have some other ones, but I'm just going through the ones that we actually tried and we liked everything that we had. So I'm sure that the other ones are good as well. And whenever I'm able to go back, I'm definitely going to be trying more. That concludes the food. So now I'm going to get into some listener questions. One question I got was, I feel like I would want a rundown of how to attack the park. Like, where should I start in terms of planning my day at Harry Potter World at Epic Universe? Which rides make sense for first or last? I'm going to tell you about my day, but first I'll say a couple things. There are 3 rides with, currently at least, things can change, but there are 3 rides with no express pass. The Battle at the Ministry ride in Harry Potter World, Minecart Madness, which is in Super Nintendo World, and Dragon Racers Rally, which is in Isle of Berk, the How to Train Your Dragon World. Every other ride and show has an express pass. So if you buy express passes, you can get like one per ride and /show. Then the character meet and greets don't have express. So you do need to wait in line for that. So if you want to meet Hiccup and Toothless in How to Train Your Dragon World, for example, or if you want to meet like Mario and Luigi, you are going to have to wait in lines. So that I mentioned that because let's say you don't want to wait in line and you're trying to attack your day, you might want to start with one of those things that you can't get express pass to use later. So you might want to start with one of those 3 rides that doesn't have express. You could try to rope drop one of those. And the shows also end at like 7, I think is the latest for the How to Train Your Dragon one, and then 8 for the Cirque Arcanus. So you might want to throw some of those things that are going to close earlier in your day. Also, something to consider is if you stay at a Universal hotel, whether it's the Helios Hotel, which is actually on property where you like walk out of the hotel and you're at the theme park, or there's other Universal hotels. If you stay at one of the Universal hotels, you get early entry. So you get in at 9 is what they say, but you probably get in earlier. But not all of the rides are going to open at 9. Some of them will open at 10. So like the Battle of the Ministry technically opens at 10. But the thing is, everyone gets in the park and runs to those rides. So even though they open at 10, if you say, okay, that opens at 10, I'm going to go do other things for the hour from 9 to 10, you're going to then get to, the Battle of the Ministry, for an example, and there's going to be this long line of people that got there as soon as possible when they entered the park. So you kind of have to like consider that it's going to be more backed up if you try to go at 10 when it technically opens. Like if you really want to do something, get there as soon as you can. All that said, I did see people saying that the Battle of the Ministry ride, everyone goes there in the morning and then it's not as busy later in the day. But then there's also the factor of some rides end up getting delayed at certain points in the day. Like Curse of the Werewolf, I think you could have ridden it like if you went there immediately in the morning, but it was delayed most of the day and there were periods where it was open, and we had some delays during our day with certain rides. I would say try to make sure you do the stuff you really want to do as soon as you can. What I was seeing is people were going for the most popular rides, which were Minecart Madness and Battle at the Ministry first thing in the day. I mean, when I went to the park, people like ran for Battle at the Ministry. So that's a popular ride. That's the ride that most everyone is there to see. So you might want to start there. If you really want to be like one of the first people to ride that ride in the morning, which we were one of those people, one of those groups, I would say stay at the Universal Helios Hotel if you can, because that's going to give you the closest access first thing in the morning, because you're going to get early entry, and that hotel is on the side of the park closest to Harry Potter World. So everyone else that's staying at another Universal hotel that still gets early entry, they're still entering at the very front of the park by the parking lot. They're on the opposite side of the park, versus people at Helios, kind of like you enter in Helios and you go left and Harry Potter World's right there. So I'm going to talk through my day, how we approached Epic Universe. We were able to do a lot. There's so many things I missed out on. There's so many things I still want to do. And I'm still so happy we had such a fun day. So my day at Epic Universe with express passes, with staying at the Helios Hotel. And for the record, I wore my Apple Watch that day just to be able to tell you how much I walked. I did 14,565 steps, so about 14,500 steps, and 6.54 miles. That's according to my Apple Watch. I don't know how much it picks up or doesn't pick up. And I know some people say when you're like pushing a stroller, it doesn't necessarily pick up something. So maybe it was more, but definitely a big walking day, and we did a lot. So let's get into it. Full disclosure, I woke up at 5:30 in the morning for this day. I set my alarm for 5:15, got up at 5:30, showered, got ready, did all the things I needed to get myself and my family ready. And we did grab and go breakfast at the Aurora Market that's in the Helios Hotel. I just got like an egg sandwich and a milk and did like a quick breakfast. And then we were downstairs at the line at the Helios at the Helios Hotel Park entrance at 7:15. So to go to that, if you're staying at the Helios Hotel, you literally go down the elevator and it's right there. And they don't open. There's a little like metal gates closed, like you see at like the mall. They close like the stores, but you can walk around the mall. It's like that sort of. So the actual like security entrance is closed, but you can line up outside of that. At 7:15 a.m. when I got there, we were not the first people in line. There were people that were there from before, maybe 7, maybe earlier. And we went down early because I specifically talked to the security guards the day before and asked them, when do people start lining up? And they said around 7:30. So we got down there 7:15. And then at 8 a.m., they opened those little gates and let us go through security and enter the park. And though we technically got into the park at 8 a.m., you walk down this path that's in the park. So you're out of the hotel, you're in the park, you walk down this path, and then they stop you. There's a person there that stops you at the end of that path. So you're not able to actually go into the park, the full park. Like you're not able to go into the worlds. There's no shops or rides or anything you can do. You're technically in the park, but you're not able to actually do anything yet. And they have you queue up down that path. So we waited in that from about 8 a.m. till they actually let us go at 8:50. So at 8:50, they were like, park's open for early entry. And that is when all hell broke loose. Everyone started sprinting towards the Wizarding World and immediately going to the Ministry of Magic queue. So it was just like people running. Then there were Universal employees saying not to run. It was crazy. We had strollers in my group. So we're like going with the strollers. And then we had to park the strollers outside of the ride to then go get in the ride. And so even though we were like one of the first like 10 people in line, people were running ahead of us because we had to go to stroller parking. It was like absolutely crazy. And then everyone was just like basically running through the line once we got into the ministry to then get to the front. It was madness. Definitely be like ready to go and be ready to go early because they opened it at 8:50. I was waiting for 9 and then I wasn't ready and I was like, and we're all running. It was funny and fun though. So basically we're all like moving quickly through the Ministry of Magic line inside. And by 9:10, we got to a point where we were stopped. So the ride wasn't technically open yet. So my group, we were all in that locker room for the aurors. That's where like we ended up getting stopped. So people just sat down and waited for the ride to open. So from 9:10 till 9:45, we were in that room just waiting. And at 9:45, that's when the ride was opened. So we were able to get up and the line started moving again as people got on the ride. Like I said before, I didn't ride the ride, but my whole group rode the ride. And then I went into the child swap room with some of the kids and then, well, technically the toddlers and the baby of our group. And then the rest of the group rode. And they were off by 10 a.m. So we were totally done with the Battle of Ministry by 10 a.m., which is the park opening, not early entry time. So once they finished that, we all went over to Super Nintendo World and we played all the games because you play these games and you can collect keys, and then the keys unlock this special area where you get to play this like special virtual game. We got to the Super Nintendo World at 10 a.m. We were able to enter that Bowser Jr. Showdown at about 11:05. So we played games for like an hour. And, we took bathroom breaks and stuff like that, got some snacks. So we were in the world for an hour or a little over an hour and doing that. Then at 11:20, we went over to Isle of Berk, which is the How to Train Your Dragon world. And we went to the Hooligans Grog and Gruel, which is a little like quick grab and go food place. We got the mac and cheese cones, which is basically like a bread cone that's kind of like an everything bagel with mac and cheese inside. And there's one with just plain mac and cheese, or you can get one like the one I got was mac and cheese with pulled pork, or some of my friends got like mac and cheese with this like spicy chicken. They were so good. I think I was like very hungry from only having an egg sandwich at like 6 a.m. And down that, we all had that. And then also there's those freestyle soda machines. There's these secret freestyle sodas that you can only get in the park. So I tried one of those. And that was kind of our little like early lunch at 11:20. And then at 11:45, we got in line for Hiccup's Wing Gliders ride, which actually turned out being really fun. So we were in line at 11:45. We rode it at 11 or at 12:05. So didn't wait very long for that, like 20 minutes. And after that, we switched off. Some of our other people in our group went on that ride, and then we took some of the kids to the Viking training camp playground, which is just a fun little playground for the kids to play around. They have dragons, they have slides. So we rode around on that for a little bit. And then at 12:50 p.m., we went back to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and we stopped by there. So this is where our group kind of like split off. Some of us went to the Harry Potter world, tried to get butterbeer in the cart, but the line was way too slow. So we just forgoed that and we went back to the hotel. So this is like, we'll call it group A. So group A tried to get butterbeer, skipped that and just went back to the hotel for a little break, had some gelato from downstairs, and kind of like did a rinse off shower and like just kind of recollected, change clothes, get a little like midday break before going back in the park. And so by 2 p.m., so that was like 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. basically. And by 2 p.m., I was in that group A. 2 p.m., we went back in the park. While group A was doing that, group B went and rode Fire Drill, which is the water ride at Isle of Berk, the How to Train Your Dragon world. They did that ride, which they really liked. It's like you shoot water at the other people in the other boats, and you can shoot water at people in line. And then after that, they did Monsters Unchained, which Monsters Unchained is kind of similar to the Wizarding World ride, where it's one of those where you're not like, it's not actually a roller coaster. You're just kind of going around and you see animatronics and you see screens, and they're kind of telling this like whole storyline. The kids in the group found that ride to be pretty scary, and there's a lot of jump scares, so just fair warning on that. But it's not scary in the sense of like, it's scary, creepy, there's monsters, but not in the sense of like, oh, it's a big roller coaster, there's like ups and downs and going upside down, none of that. And it's an indoor ride, so even when there's like weather delays, Monsters Unchained is one that you can still ride. So anyway, 2 p.m., the group's back together, and some of us tried to go ride Stardust Racers, but then there literally, as we're like just getting in line, there was a weather delay, so they closed the ride. So we were able to get out of the line, and we just made a beeline for the Cirque Arcanus in the Wizarding World, figuring that if it's about to rain, let's go get into a show. By 3:05, the show started, so we barely waited in line for that ride, like 5-10 minutes. Watch that show, and then we get out at 3:30 and it's pouring rain. So we just kind of went outside of the show into the little covered area, and there is a covered area for our strollers, so like we didn't have to worry about that. But we just waited out the rain for about 15 minutes. It lightened up, and at 3:45 we went to buy wands at Comme Acajor. And then, some of us got wands, some of us already had wands, and then we were just going around doing all the spells. So that was a lot of fun. Then we did that for a half hour and then went to Bar Moonshine, had drinks. We're still like playing around with our wands. We took pictures. We were just having fun. And then at 4:35, we went and got in line at the Constellation Carousel, which is in Celestial Park. We waited about 10 minutes, and then around 4:45, we rode the carousel. So we took the kids. Everyone was able to go on that. So you can even bring like babies and toddlers on that ride. So that was super cute. And the carousel, honestly, like carousel, I would always avoid a carousel at a theme park, but this carousel was really cool. They played fun music. It wasn't like the typical carousel music. And then it goes in a circle, and it also goes backwards. And then there are mini circles within the larger circle. And then you spin around on those circles, not in a like, it's not like the Disney teacups where you're getting like dizzy type of thing. It's very slow, but it's just like a fun little thing. And it's very well designed. I recommend going just to like see the design. And there's usually hardly any wait. So it's just a fun little thing to do, especially for the kids. So we did that. And then at 5 p.m., we went back to Super Nintendo World. We tried to get into Toadstool Cafe, but this is when we learned that the like mobile ordering menu system that they use was down. I guess it had been down since 11:30 that day. So they were having all these issues. They had to manually like write down everyone's order and take it back to the kitchen with across the park for everywhere. So it was going to be a 45-minute wait just to be able to get to the table to then order. So we bailed on that. We decided to leave, and we were thinking about going back to the hotel. We were trying to find something that was like a little bit quicker, but we actually found the Oak and Star Tavern, which is in Celestial Park. It's kind of tucked back. Like it's behind this ice cream place. It's a little bit hard to see, and I think people don't realize that it's there. So there was almost no wait. We walked right in and were able to order. I think they kind of messed up the orders though, because we ended up having to wait a half hour for our food to come out after we ordered, and like different people in our group that ordered later were getting their food first. So, but all that said, I think it was just a weird day with the food ordering. So I'm not going to like, don't use that to judge your experience or anything. But what you should judge your experience if you're thinking about going is the food. And the food was amazing at Oak and Star Tavern. I mean, the mac and cheese cones were great as well at Hooligans Grog and Grill. But the Oak and Star Tavern, every single item that I ate at that place was good. I mean, we had a couple different meats. We tried their breads. They have this mango bread and they also have this cheesy bread. Both were delicious. Like everything tasted so good there and hit the spot. And it was not very busy. There was a bunch of seating. It's an air conditioned sit down. So this was like the break that we needed after walking around for a long day. So after we finished eating at Oak and Star Tavern at 6:15, we went back over to Isle of Burke for the Untrainable Dragon show. And we got in line by 6:30, and we just made sure to get there early because this was the last showing of the show for the day and we didn't want to miss it. So that's kind of why we waited about a half hour, but you probably could have showed up later and still made it in. The show was supposed to be at 7, but the previous show was a couple minutes behind. So I think it started around 7:05. We watched that show. That show was really cool. I definitely recommend going to see it. The dragons were really cool that fly over the audience. And by 7:30, we were out. We went to Celestial Park and rode Stardust Racers. We were nervous because it was on weather delay earlier and we wanted to make sure we got to ride it. So we rode it around sunset time. It was kind of overcast, so it's a little hard to tell, but we didn't quite ride it at night. And looking back, like it would have been fun to ride it at night, but we were just so nervous. We didn't want, because it was on weather delay, we wanted to make sure we could ride it. It took about an hour for us to ride this because we did like 2 groups and we did child swap. So like waited about a half hour for each group to go. And we rode that. It was so fun. That's definitely a very intense roller coaster. So if you're not into that, I would say don't ride it. But I liked it. There's multiple loops. It goes for a while. I mean, it's definitely not one of those quick rides where you kind of like go around once and then you're done and you're like, oh, wow, I waited that long for such a short ride. It's not like that. There's multiple loops and it's pretty extreme. And there's no shoulder harness. It's just like a harness or a little like thing over your stomach, which is crazy because you go upside down. Like rides are so advanced these days. That ride took a picture of me that was horrible. I always look terrible on rides. And anyway, the other part of our group, they went to Super Nintendo World and waited in line for the character meet and greet to meet Mario and Luigi. So we met back up with them. While they were going to do their like meet and greet, we went into the shop there and I got a little gift for my son. And then at 9 p.m., we went back to Celestial Park for the big light show. They do this light and music show. It's really cool. There's lights throughout the park, so you can pretty much watch anywhere. But we went and sat. There's these little stadium type seats around the fountain, and we went and sat there and watched it. And then at 9:15, that was over. So we wanted to do a last like walk around the park. So we went and did a last walkthrough of Dark Universe. And we did try to get on the Curse of the Werewolf ride, but they weren't letting anyone on the ride since it was after 9. But it was still cool to see Dark Universe after dark. We did a quick walk around there, and then we went by the Wizarding World portal and took a last picture at 9:25 and then left the park. And that was our day. So complete day with timestamps. if that helps you just get a sense. It's very quick to get around the park, and if you have express passes, you do not wait very long in lines. So the next listener question is, are there any hidden gems of a restaurant that we should go to? So there are 3 Coca-Cola Freestyle flavors that are exclusive to Epic Universe and that aren't really being hyped up very much, but they're the Screaming Berry, which is in Dark Universe, the Dragon Splash, which is in Isle of Berk. I did try that one. And then there's the Celestial Spritz, which is in Celestial Park. There's nothing for the Harry Potter world, unfortunately. Maybe they'll add one. I didn't get to try all of these, but I did try the Dragon Splash in Isle of Berk. You can get it at Hooligan's Grog and Grill. And I personally loved it. I felt like it was very refreshing. It was kind of like a lemon lime type thing. Maybe I was just thirsty though. My husband said he hated it. So different opinions there. Maybe try it, see if you like it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, so we went to Oak and Star Tavern, which is in Celestial Park. It's very much tucked away, but the food was so amazing and it wasn't crowded. So I don't know, like it's just kind of hidden, but you can definitely it's listed on the park and everything. So I just don't think a lot of people were going to it, and it was great. And then Bar Moonshine, go there instead of the Butterbeer cart. It's kind of more tucked away. It's over near where the wand shop is, but everyone goes to the Butterbeer cart and that gets so crowded. But you can get a drink super fast at Bar Moonshine. So that's my little secret tip. Another listener question was, how does this compare to the other parks? So Epic Universe, I will say, is huge. It's about 250 acres, and they're planning to add more to the park. So it'll be around 750 acres in total once it's all complete, to my understanding, with their expansions. So that would make it definitely the largest park in Orlando after all of that. For comparison, so if you're looking at the other Orlando parks, Universal Studios is about 125 acres. So 250 of Epic versus 125 of Universal Studios. Islands of Adventure is about 110 acres, so even smaller. And Magic Kingdom, so if you're thinking about Disney, that's about 107 acres. So less than half of the space of Epic Universe. I'll compare it a little bit to Magic Kingdom because the tickets prices are about the same. And that's kind of like Disney's big park versus Epic Universe's, Universal's big park. So obviously Epic Universe has more space, but there's more stuff to do in Magic Kingdom. So they have on their website, you can see there's 64 things to do. That's not including dining. Not including dining, Epic Universe has 42 things to do. So not quite as much. Disney calls it 5 quote unquote thrill rides. There's 5 thrill rides, and then there's a total of 26 rides at Magic Kingdom. For comparison, Epic Universe has 13 rides in total. So, and then there are 6 shows / fireworks at Magic Kingdom versus 3 shows, which I'm including the 2 shows plus the light show at the end of the day at Epic Universe. And then at Magic Kingdom, there's 13 character experiences, whereas at Epic Universe, they have 6 of their character meet and greets. Obviously, Magic Kingdom is much more targeted at kids. There's a lot more kiddie stuff to do, I feel, than Epic Universe. And Epic Universe is newer and larger. So Epic Universe doesn't feel as crowded and cramped because it's a little bit more spread out, I feel. So I hope that helps with answering your question about comparison. In my opinion, if I'm talking specifically about the Harry Potter world in the Universal Park, so there's Harry Potter in Islands of Adventure, they have their Hogsmeade / Hogwarts section. In Epic Universe, they have 1920s Paris and the British Ministry of Magic. And then Universal Studios has Diagon Alley. So, in my opinion of the Harry Potter world, I think Islands of Adventure is actually maybe still better because there's just more stuff and it's more true to the actual Harry Potter franchise versus the Fantastic Beasts. So that's why I probably would rank Islands of Adventure first, and then I would say Epic Universe, and then Universal Studios. That one's not quite my favorite Harry Potter world. And also Islands of Adventure has the most rides in their Harry Potter world. So if I'm going Harry Potter worlds, I still don't think Epic Universe is quite my favorite, but I still did enjoy it. But if I'm ranking the parks in general, I think I would rank Epic Universe over Islands of Adventure and then put Universal Studios last, just for all the things to do, the like uniqueness of the park. And I think Epic Universe is just going to get bigger and better. And I think their Harry Potter world will be bigger. So maybe in the future, I'll feel like I like Epic Universe's Harry Potter world a little bit better. Another listener question we got was, what's your favorite ride? So at Epic Universe, I didn't get to ride many rides, which is crazy because I had such a full day. So of the three rides that I rode, which were the Celestial Carousel, Hiccups Wing Gliders, and Stardust Racers, I'm going to say that my favorite was Hiccups Wing Gliders. That one was so fun. It's a roller coaster, but there's no upside down. It's not too crazy. They call it a family roller coaster, but I would definitely say family, not kid. Like it's a little bit intense for kids. There's some speed to it. But it's not quite as, easygoing as if you're familiar with in Islands of Adventure, there's a little like hippogriff ride that's really short and it kind of like, was a little mini coaster. It's not as easygoing as that. Like it's a little bit more a step up from that. I'd say it's pretty close to like the Hagrid's roller coaster ride in Islands of Adventure. It was a lot of fun. It's an outdoor roller coaster, or I guess roller coasters like seems a little bit too extreme because it's not as crazy as like Stardust Racers. But it's outdoors. They have a full animatronic Toothless that kind of pushes a button, and they have a voiceover that's Hiccup basically saying that you're like doing your training and your practice flight, and then they sync up the music, the test drive music from How to Train Your Dragon, which I love that soundtrack. So it's really fun. I like the combination of the music and the ride. And I just think it was a really fun ride. And it wasn't very intense where it was like pushing you around or you get a headache from the like pressure or anything like that. I did still enjoy the other rides. If I had to pick my favorite. And I wanted to ride more, but we just had weather delays. So we weren't able to ride as much and just like time constraints. The people in my group also rode like the Ministry ride and Fire Drill and Monsters Unchained. I heard different things about people's favorite ride. I mean, some people even said they liked Fire Drill. People like Stardust Racers. Like my husband's favorite was Stardust Racers. A listener question we got was, how were the special effects in person at Epic Universe? I will say they were really neat. There was a blend of digital like screen effects and animatronics. The animatronics are so realistic and lifelike. Overall, I'd say special effects are really cool and a really cool like major piece of what makes this park awesome. Is it worth it to get another pass to the other Harry Potter parks to get the full experience in a day, or should I try to only reserve one park for one day? So I definitely feel strongly that you should not do a multi-park pass for one day. So Universal, if you're not aware, they sell like, on the same day you can go into multiple park tickets, or you can buy like one park per day ticket. This park, Epic Universe, is not close to the other two Universal parks. So it's like a 15-minute bus ride to the other ones. And that's just going to eat up time in your day. So it's not like you can just like hop over. Or in the case of Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, especially if you're a Harry Potter fan, you can take the Hogwarts Express between them if you have a multi-park single day ticket. So that's a reason to get the multi-park in a day. Otherwise, you can't ride on the Hogwarts Express. But for Epic, there's not really like a reason that like a motivator to get a multi-park one day ticket. And there's just Epic Universe is so big. There's so much to do. I think you could buy 2 days. Like if you can spend more money, I would say buy 2 days just for Epic Universe. So 2 one park days, and try to do as much as you can. You could probably cover a lot more of the park across 2 days and probably ride most of the rides, do the shows, do the meet and greets, try different restaurants, try different drinks, like do all the things. So the other parks are still fun and like it's cool to see the other parks. And like I said earlier, I think Islands of Adventure has the better Harry Potter section, in my opinion, like just because there's like more rides and it's more to like the Harry Potter than Fantastic Beasts. So it's cool to see the other parks. I would say in other days, if you can, go to the other two parks. So that concludes pretty much our listener questions. Now I'm going to get into traveling with babies and toddlers and kids from my experience. So if it doesn't apply to you, feel free to hop off at this time. I traveled with a big group. We had 8 adults, 2 kids, 2 toddlers, and 1 baby. So we had 3 strollers with our group. Overall, you can definitely take your kids to this park and have a lot of fun. There are many things for kids to do outside of the rides. They can go on Yoshi's Adventure, which is in Super Nintendo World, and they can go on the Celestial Carousel as well, even if they're really small. And they can go to the 2 shows, and they can see the light show at the end of the day. And they can do the power-up bands and the wands at with the Wizarding World and also at Super Nintendo World. And there's also just going around the park, trying the food. So there's a lot to do. And no, we didn't even make it to the splash pad. When we went, there's a little splash pad for kids. And Fire Drill's another one you can take your kids on. It's the water ride. If you want water things, there's those two. And also, they have the Viking training camp, which is a playground in Isle of Berk. So Isle of Berk and Super Nintendo World are the 2 areas that are the best suited for kids. And the way Universal works is when they have child swap, you basically wait in line with your group with your kids. And then when you get to the end of the line, the adult that's going to stay with the kid goes in the child swap room, and then someone can ride, and then you switch off. So you're not you're still able to wait in line together, which is nice. And I went in multiple child swap rooms while I went to Universal, and the child swap rooms were nice. They had TVs in them. They were in indoor air conditioned rooms. And one of them had these little stool things for the kids could probably sit on or play on or practice standing if they're a tiny toddler. And the one in the Harry Potter Battle of the Ministry, that child swap room, had a little water fountain and seats, and it was a big room. And then they had a TV that was playing all of Umbridge's scenes. So it didn't play all of the Harry Potter, but it was just skipping through all the scenes from Umbridge from the movies. So that was just a fun little detail. So you could watch that. One thing that was kind of annoying is most of the rides, you can't, when you're waiting in line with your young ones, you're not able to take the stroller with you in the line, even though you could take it into child swap. You're not able to take the stroller, so you kind of have to park your stroller before you go into a show or before you go into a ride outside of the ride or the show or whatever it may be, and then hold your kid or have them walk or whatever the case while you're waiting in line. So that's just something to consider. And then some of the areas like the Wizarding World, especially, the ground was really uneven. It was definitely they were trying to give the Paris vibes of the uneven brick road a little bit. So it makes it a little bit bumpy with riding with a stroller, but in general, being in a stroller with a park or a wagon in a park is really nice because you can kind of throw your stuff in there and you don't have to carry it on your back in a backpack or on your bag or hold it in your hands. You can stick your wand underneath, because some things like a wand, it's kind of awkward to have to carry around with you. For kids, as I mentioned, they can go to shows and they can go see the light show. One thing to consider is that they were very loud. Even the light show, they had these loudspeakers, and then I felt like the 2 shows that we saw were just loud. So if you have a really young one, probably bring those little protective headphones for them. If you do have a baby that you're bringing into the park, you can breastfeed anywhere in the park. And they also have a family center that's actually in the Wizarding World, which is nice. So if you do need to get in the AC, you can use that. It's a family care center. You should be able to see it on the map in your app, or just look it up online. And I was fully planning on using it actually to get out of the hot sun for a little bit, but I ended up not using it and just going back to the hotel for a break because I was lucky to be staying at the Helios. And then if you are taking a stroller, if you do have a little one, it is some of the shops and restaurants can be a little bit tight to get around. The wand shop was super tight to get around with a stroller. I would say the Dark Universe is the most kind of creepy world, and especially at night.
and they have like fog, smoke kind of coming out around the streets when you're walking around. And then the Monsters Unchained ride has a lot of jump scares, so that's just something to consider. That stuff might be a little bit creepy for the younger kids, or it would be creepy for me because I don't really like horror stuff.
That's all for this installment of Magic Beyond the Books. Thanks for joining us on this magical journey throughout the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. And until next week, happy reading, happy listening, and may you get the chance to visit a Harry Potter theme park someday.